So I know I've been kind of like putting this deck off for a while now. It's just I know I've told you guys this like quite a few times, but for me, just because I own so many decks that I have like so much accessibility to so many decks, like I can't really like focus my time and like energy or like take one to like locals like every week. Like for me, it would be an insult like to all my other decks and strategies that I have that are like, hey man, like why don't you play me, or like, hey man, like, you know. So I try like as hard as I can to take something different to locals or like a tournament, just because, like, you know, just so none of the stuff I have like per se goes to waste, or I'm always thinking of like something new, like a different combo and like a different deck. So let's get into it. Also, because this was like a long time coming. This video was requested by a buddy of mine. Shout outs to you, Pete. This is for you. Let's get into it. I'm running 4 of the Zeus Legends Passed Down Zeus, and then we're playing 4 of Gerard's Hammer. Now in Thor, it's really actually important that you max out on Gerard's Hammer and not just Legends Passed Down Zeus. Even though what Legends Passed Down Zeus does is, again, I'm gonna explain all these cards because you might not know, because there are people out there that might not know what these cards do. So what Legends Passed Down Zeus does is it's Counterblast 1. It gives 10k to your Vanguard. If your opponent has an open front board, it gives 20k instead. But regardless, it's gonna give your Vanguard Sentinel Restrict for the turn. So this is basically your finisher of the deck. Just make it so your Vanguard can't be PG'd, and then make your Vanguard like big as fuck. But because your opponent has to be like, ideally your opponent has to be like around like 3, ideally like 4 or 5 damage for this to be deadly, you more often than not by turn 2 and even on turn 3, the first order card I play is Gerard Thor's Hammer. Because what Gerard's Thor Hammer does, it gives a unit plus 5k until the end of turn, and then it allows you to draw a card. So it's just really important that you do draw cards in this deck, because part of Thor's ability, at least his retire skill, part of Thor's retire skill does cost you to discard a card from your hand. So that's why it's very important to max out on these order cards. And generally, I'm not playing like such a high count of Thors compared to the high count of Poseidons I was playing, because this deck is just like so radically different. But again, you're maxing out on 4 of your Thor Persona Ride. Again, I'm gonna explain what all these cards do, just for the people that might not know, if they want to just become aware of this deck, because it really isn't that bad of a deck. It is a really good deck, even though it can make only 3 attacks without the Overture, but it does have retire, it has draw, and it has Sentinel Restrict. I think those are some key aspects that a deck needs to acquire to become good enough to be played in tournament setting. But what Thor does is, of course, he has the God ability of Rest the Rearguard to search for a God order, and then his other ability is act Counterblast once per turn, pitch a card from your hand, and then your opponent chooses 2 of their Rearguards and retires them. Now, it sucks that your opponent has to choose, but it's like not too bad, because you do have another card that retires in the deck. But generally, you want to use this before you use your Legends Passed Down Thor. And what I usually do is, with extra copies of Gerard's Hammer, is I'll rest a Rearguard, search for Gerard's Hammer, I'll pitch Gerard's Hammer for my retire ability, and then I'll use Legends Passed Down Thor. So onto the grade 2s. We could put this like this. Yeah, we could put it like that and it'll be fine. We're maxing out on the Rideline Thor. What is like all out Thor or all in Thor? All out mode Thor. The reason that we're maxing out on this Thor is because its ability, it's like a really key beater on your turn 2 and up, because its ability is if your opponent has 2 or less Rearguards, it gets 5k. And also, it is another name to be a search target off your ride line. And then I'm playing 4 copies of... Damn, like I'm sorry, like I forget these names. Strongest Norse Guard Thor. They're all Thors, man. They're all Thors. But this is actually the other Thor in the deck that lets you retire. So his ability is, if there's nothing in the same column as it, it gets 5k for the turn. But his on-place ability is Soul Blast 2. Soul Blast 2, retire something in the same column as this unit. So again, like your opponent does get to choose, but generally what they do choose, I'm going to call this to the same column of that they wanted to keep and then retire it anyway. And then you would use your Thor's your Legends Passed Down Thor to give your Vanguard the +10 or +20. And then the last grade 2 I'm playing in the deck is I'm playing 2 of God of War Ares. No, not 2, fucking 4 copies. I'm playing 4 copies of God of War Ares. The reason is because of the discard cost, because of your orders. Like, it's generally harder for this, not harder, but you know, this deck wants to discard cards, so you really you need to maintain a hand. And what this card does is, on attack, if you have a grade 3 God Vanguard, Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, it gets 5k for the battle, and then you can draw a card. This is not once per turn, so if you restand this with the over trigger, you can do it again to draw another card, which is really good. Also, this deck does have, like, in contrary to the Poseidon deck, which is very interesting, I find that this deck does have, like, a slightly harder time building a back row, not like a back row, but building a board in general, just because, again, you have to discard costs for your cards for your costs, you have to rest cards for your costs, so most of the time, my front board is just, like, grade 2s that are, like, 15s by themselves. Persona Ride 25s with Persona Ride, your most powerful attack for the turn is more often than not your Vanguard. But to help supplement that, I am playing 4 Messenger what's his name, Hermes? Yeah, 4 Messenger Hermes. Now the reason that I'm playing this Hermes over the other Hermes that lets me scry the top card of my deck, soul charge it if I want to soul charge it, is because what this Hermes does is, I don't play it any of my other god decks, is on plays from hand, you may soul charge 1, and then when the attack that this unit boosts hits, you soul blast 1, and then you can call a card from your soul to the back row, to a back row rear guard, which is the same grade or less than your Vanguard. So again, like I said, this deck does struggle in building a back row, so this kind of helps supplement in that fact. And then 4 DPGs, there's really nothing to say here. DPGs are the best PG. Going on to the triggers, you play 1 Records of Ragnarok over trigger. It's just like it restands a rear guard. It gives 10k to your front row. It's a really good over trigger. Like the what's it called? Freaking the Shaman King Overtrigger is obviously like way more powerful than this because it straight up deals your opponent a damage. But like this is nothing to like snark at either. Just because this, when you check this, it actually does like just help you close out the game or like damage push. But I'm playing 3 draw triggers. I'm not playing 4 because this deck is generally a 3 attack deck. So I would more often than not just rather maximize on the. Well, let me just put this down here. Maximize on the crit triggers, so I'm playing 8 criticals, and then I am playing 4 heals. Now, this, in my opinion, this deck out of the 3 god decks is the weakest, not by much, but it is the weakest just because it does struggle to build a decent board. Versus Poseidon and Zeus that have cards that help build board, that help it gain power. Like the only power you're gaining is your Vanguard. Granted, you do have Sentinel Restrict, but with Persona Rides, your rear guards are most of the time not going to be, the highest they can be is 33, which is not bad. Those are magic numbers. But it is nothing compared to what Zeus and Poseidon can do. While Zeus can multi-attack and have a crit on Vanguard, Poseidon can get triple drive. Can gain triple drive, create massive rear guard columns, and also retire your opponent's units. Well, retire 1 unit. They can only retire 1 unit a turn. But it is still a good deck in my opinion. Definitely something that you would want to at least have knowledge of what these cards do so you are not caught off guard against this matchup. But anyways, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I will be showcasing the other records Ragnarok decks. I haven't forgotten. I'm actually up super early. Like right now it's the morning. I've been up since like 6 o'clock. And I've just been trying to grind out all the content that I've been meaning to grind out, just so that I have videos for a couple weeks. But anyways, guys, later.